Hey guys, it's Amber. Welcome back. I'm doing some watercolor and color pencil with the brand new Altenew Beauty Within, and I'm also unboxing their brand new wax seal line. Having never used wax seals before, I'll share my first impressions on what it was like for a newbie. I decided to do some masking with this card, which I never do, you guys, and I'll explain why I'm doing it in a minute. This is the Nesting Ovals die set. It has a cut edge and then also an embossing edge on it, so that the oval that's cut out from the center has a finishing touch of that embossed line just a few millimeters in. So I cut this from a piece of masking paper, and I decided to do a slimline card for my design. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the masking paper down. I'm using my glass mat and the grid just to get everything lined up. And this is the Beauty Within stamp set. So the first thing that caught my eye was this leaf cluster. This might be the best leaf cluster that I own, you guys. I love it. There's a three-dimensional quality about it, and I could just see this leaf cluster coming out of an oval, which is why I wanted to do this particular design. So I have a set of post-it notes here. These are the full sticky post-it notes. So the only part on the sticky notes that aren't sticky are the hash marks that you see there. Everything else is full stick. So these are perfect for quick masks. If you wanted to have several of these, you could just pull off a couple sheets of it and cut them all at the same time. Or you could save the extras in your die cut packaging. So I have the Tranquility ink set here, and I'm going to use Nimbus to stamp these small little floral clusters or leaf clusters here. And you could definitely do this in a MISTI. I just had everything taped down to my glass mat, so I went ahead and did it with acrylic blocks. But you can see that I cut 2 flower masks and then also the leaf cluster. Not only will those mask my project, but I also use them to help me create the arrangement. So using the Sugar Plum set, I'm going to use Amethyst to stamp the flowers. So my goal was to do a no-line. I was thinking I was going to do watercolor, but I end up doing part watercolor and part color pencil. I just put those pieces of tape down on my grid mat so I would know where to put my acrylic block back because I had lined it up with the mask. And I'm just going to outline my oval here so that I know where that oval is before I take it off, because I want the inside of this oval to kind of be glowing. Here, you can either just go ahead and completely take your mask off. I decided to trim it so that I would know where to put my leaf. If I had taken the whole mask off, then it would have been harder for me to tell where exactly to put that leaf in my arrangement. So then I'll remove the mask and I'm going to watercolor the background. So I'm going to use shades of purple, lapis lazuli, cool summer night, and green hills. I'll mix those together to create a color for the background, and I'm just wetting the whole background with clean clear water. This is the Altenew watercolor paper. It's the 9x12 watercolor pad, and once I added the water to it, you could see that it kind of bubbled up or warped a little bit with the amount of water that I added. But this card did dry flat, so I generally don't tape my projects down. I like to work on the size piece that the finished card is going to be rather than having the extra paper around it, and it dried flat, so I was really happy with that. But I was kind of worried at this point with the amount of warping to the paper, how that was going to look. So I'm just going to I let that dry completely, and I let it air dry and just came back to it. And so now I'm going to mix some Seashore, a little bit of the Cool Summer Night, and I'm going to come in with a darker pigmentation and almost do a little bit of wet and dry brushing here to get a little texture and variance in color to the background. So I'll show you a little bit of it and then I'll move on to the next step. This is a little bit of a longer video because there was a lot to share, and I had to speed things up, you guys, otherwise we would have been here all day. I very rarely color pencil because it takes me a million years to do it, you guys. Like a million years. It's so much faster to Copic color and watercolor and less effort, I feel like. So I don't do it very often, but I do love the look of it and I adore how this card turned out. So I wanted a glowy center, so I'm using some color pencils, and I will have all of the colors of watercolor that I used and the color pencils that I used listed on my blog. There's just more space there to put in the comments down below. By the time you get supplies listed below, there's no room for a lot of other information. So basically, I'm starting at the outer edges with some darker yellows, and then in the center, I'm ending with almost like a lemon yellow or a cream color so that it's super light and glowy in the center. And then I'll just keep building up the layers. So color pencils, as well as Copic colors, watercolor, it's all about layers. So you don't want to go in with whatever you want your full strength to be right from the beginning. If you do it in layers, you have a lot more control over what the end product is going to look like. You also don't want to press hard with your color pencils. It's really nice to color pencil on watercolor paper because the paper has some texture to it. And that allows the tooth of the paper or the texture of the paper to kind of grab onto the color pencil. It gives the color pencil those nooks and crannies to fall into. If you press too hard with your pencil, you're going to smash all the texture down, and then the paper's not going to take on any more color. It's just going to kind of skim over the surface, and you won't be able to continue to deepen the color. So really light pressure and just keep adding color. And I did this while we were watching, we were watching some series, the kids and I and my husband. I think we were watching like a fashion series or something on TV one weekend. And so I just colored a good portion of this card, not underneath the cameras. So after I got that done, and I did add more layers after that, I darkened up the darkest areas in that center. And for the flower, I'm just using some magentas and some pinks. I use the white not only to add highlight, but I also use it to blend those colors together a little bit. One trick that I do if I want to keep a highlight is I'll put my white down first. It kind of acts like, I don't know if you ever did that with crayons when you were little. You put your white down and it acts as a resist. So sometimes I'll do that with my color pencils just to make sure I save that highlight. But again, don't press too hard and don't smash it down, otherwise you won't be able to add any color at all. For the centers, I just outlined those little circles with an indigo color or a dark navy, and then I used some grays and browns, kind of like a chestnut brown in the center as well. Even these flowers, you guys, for everything, I feel like I added like 4 layers of color. There's no way I could have put it all on film. For the flowers, I used a lime green and an olive green and some gray. For the sentiment, perfect sentiment, you guys. True beauty comes from within, so I felt like that went really well with this design. I put some foam squares on the back of this flower. I die cut it, but then I trimmed off the excess because I didn't want the white border around it. And then here I just have a white graphite pencil, and I'm just going to blend that out with a tortillon paper stump. That helps to bring the background forward and recess the yellow glowing part. And even after that, I added more layers of all of the colors. So many layers, you guys. This was an all-day card. And that's because I like really deep color, which means when I color pencil, it is like an all-day project. And so I realize that's not for everybody, and I don't do it very often or share it very often for that reason. Okay, so moving on to the brand new Wax Seal line. There's 4 different products in this line. This is the Wax Seal stamp, and this one is called With Love. So it's a cute little envelope with a heart on it. The stamps are very high quality. It has a wooden handle and a heavy metal stamp. And the one with the flower is called Delicate Blossom. This is the Wax Seal melting spoon, and so what we're going to put in there are the Wax Seal beads. I'll show you those in a minute. These are Wax Seal sticks in different colors. There's 4 different colors, and it's basically almost like a candle of wax. You light the end, and I'll demonstrate how to use these as best I can, you guys. This was my first time doing it, so it was a little comical to me. And then we also have the Wax Seal beads, and these are an Enchanted gold, which is my favorite gold from the Altenew bunch, so I was happy to get that. So here I just have a candle that's just on my craft desk anyway, and I'm gonna light it and then move it over to the side right in the center of my screen is my camera, which is up above me, and I didn't want to melt any parts of it or damage it from the heat. So you can see me kind of testing to make sure things aren't getting too hot. I'm going to take out 4 of the wax seal beads, and I didn't, in my test runs here, I couldn't decide whether or not I preferred 4 beads or 3 beads. So you'll have to see what your preference is. I went ahead and put those in the melting spoon, and then I'm going to hold that over the flame. It took about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes to melt this. Obviously, if you hold it closer to your flame, it's going to melt quicker, but I went ahead and sped it up so that we weren't sitting here for all that time. And then I'm going to go ahead and pour this on my envelope. Now, I should note that I actually didn't seal this envelope. It didn't occur to me because I wasn't actually sending anything in this. I was just kind of testing this out. So I'm going to pour this on. Sorry about the smoke from blowing out the candle. I'll pour this on, and you can see me now hold the envelope down because the wax was going on unevenly since it wasn't sealed. And then I'll just leave this here. Now, I have no idea how long I need to leave this here. So I just waited maybe 10 seconds or so, and then I'll peel it off. And you can see that my wax kind of got a little gloopy to one side. And so one of the things that I could see that I would need to practice is making sure that I get the wax seal centered. But I think that looks really pretty. It's a beautiful color, especially against this black envelope. I think it shows up so well. And so then I decided, okay, well, I don't want to just use it on a bunch of envelopes that don't have anything in it. So I decided to do it on a craft mat. And I figured I could just peel them off and glue them to an envelope if I needed to. But these are basically my test runs because I have no idea what I'm doing, you guys. So here I'm using the wax sticks, and I started kind of melting it with the design kind of up towards me, but I think it actually worked best when you hold it to the side, and it's actually shaped and domed at the top. So here I'll show you. So see how I have the pattern up towards me? If you turn that to the side, I think it melted better. The problem I was running into here is that it wasn't melting fast enough to get enough of the wax onto the craft mat before it started to harden. So I definitely had some trial and error. This is my favorite one right here. That one's like perfect. I love that. I got it, the stamp centered in the middle. I'm gonna try it again here. So I wanted to show you guys all of the colors. So you have the gold top left, then there's like a platinum on the right, almost like a rose gold. Then you have this beautiful blue, and here I'm doing the kind of burgundy maroon color. That right there was not enough wax, but I was afraid that it was gonna harden too quickly. And there you can see I didn't get it lined up properly. Like that was a perfect amount of wax, but I didn't get the seal even. Now, this was much faster putting an open flame to it, but you guys do that at your own risk because you could burn the house down. So I don't know if that's really all that safe, but that one turned out really well too. So after they're cooled down, these peel off of the craft mat super easily, and then I can go ahead and glue them to an envelope. So this was perfect for my test run. My first impressions are this is a skill that needs a bit of practice. You know, I would have thought that it was maybe something that I could do like right away, clearly, because I didn't look up any instructional videos. But I kind of remember from watching period films, they tend to press the wax like stick onto the paper, and maybe that's what I was supposed to do. Maybe I was just supposed to light it, kind of melt the tip, and then press it on there. I'm not sure, but what I would recommend is that you look up some other videos in addition to mine so that you know what you're doing. So here's another card that I created over on the right, and I didn't add that to the video because it just would have been way too long, but I'll have more information about that in my blog. This is part of a blog hop, so be sure to use the link below as to join me over on the blog, and then supplies are listed below as well. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, liking, and ringing that bell so you don't miss any new inspiration. Here's a couple more videos for you before you leave, and I'll see you real soon.